Is that why? That's why. Haha. What's up, Landon? There we go. I was talking to you. I just didn't have my mic on.
What's up, Tyler? Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound pretty good.
Thanks, baby. You too.
All right. Awesome, bro. So this is going to be the layout. We're just waiting for Teriak. We'll go live in like 5 minutes or something.
I'm live right now if you need me not to be so you can say the N-word.
No, I mean, no, I'm good. I don't need to say it right now. I don't have the urge today. So, no. It's like beating inside me.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, fucking, are you going to DebateCon or what?
Yeah, we'll be there. My wife and I are driving up.
There you are, Teriak.
What's it, Craig?
Nice. Hey, so you're heading to DebateCon. What day are you going?
Thursday after work, we're leaving, and then we're leaving Tennessee on Sunday to drive home.
You're leaving on Sunday, so you're just going to be there on Saturday for the event?
Thursday night, Friday all day, Saturday all day, and then Sunday all afternoon. We're going to leave like 5 at night.
Oh, okay. I see. I gotcha. Yeah, I'll be flying in on Thursday, and then I'll be there for 4 nights. I'm flying back home on Monday. So I'll be there for the whole thing.
Where are you
Teriak,
at?
I'm in Texas, bro.
Oh, I'm looking at jobs in Texas right now. I might move there. Hang out with Gibbs and Pentuple.
Yeah. Gibbs is in San Antonio. So I'm in South Texas, bro. I'm like by the fucking border. Brownsville, Texas, man. So, yeah. Teriak, go ahead and speak.
Yo, testicles, 1, 2, 3.
All right, cool. Yeah, your fucking mic is super hot. Hold on. Go ahead, keep talking.
Testicles, 1, 2, 3, testicles.
Keep going, a little bit more.
If you leave me now, you take away the biggest part of me.
All right, I think that's good.
Did I serenade you with my beautiful
You did,
voice?
bro. You did, man. I got a chub for that, dude. Thank you. Bro,
no homo.
No homo, though.
100% promo.
What do you call it? Hey, you were on fucking, I didn't catch the whole debate. I just caught the ending. Well, like the last fucking 10 minutes. I thought you were going to stay on for open panel, but you left out.
Nah, BK was on, bro. And like, even like, I thought the way it was phrased was like deep state. It was like the way that this debate was phrased. And I was like, bro, I'm going to have to pull out of this, the vibe. I was like, oh shit, because the whole answer and all stuff, it's gonna look all thing. But I was like, that on top of the time, and it's like, nah, it's thing. But then no, like it was like the balanced, it was phrased the balanced way. So it was like, okay, right, yeah, I'll go through with it.
Well, you already committed, right?
Yeah, but like, that's your aspect as well. Like, you gave your word and all this kind of shit. But yeah, like it's just this whole aspect of like gaslighting in debates, bro. The amount of outright gaslighting that happens is ridiculous.
Nah, I get you, man. I get you. But yeah, I mean, I was like, okay, so because Teriak usually stays for the open panel, so I was thinking, like, I don't know if you don't, do you have any beef on Tara or anything like that? Nothing crazy, right?
I've literally had no impact from this whatsoever. You know
Okay,
what I mean?
yeah,
And
no,
like
same.
even I even got Ryan to admit that it's like, yeah, this is actually a good thing for Sarah and Andrew. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, why are we crying? Well, that's my thing.
I don't even think it affects
Ah.
Andrew too much, to be honest. But
Yeah, but, like, that's what I'm saying. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It seems like everybody's getting their way. So
yeah, exactly.
live
I-
and love, live. You know?
Tyler, what about
say-
you, man?
I'd say it makes Andrew look like a little bit of a bitch. Like, he was the one bitching about Rob getting blacklisted by all these people because they had clout and they didn't want to let somebody on that disagreed with them and blah, blah, blah. And now he's doing the same thing to her because she had the gall to say Rob was acting like a baby on her panels. And anyone that's done 100 panels with Rob knows that he acts like a fucking baby in about 20% of them.
Oh shit, you're smack talking, Rob.
No, it's true. I've been on multiple.
I mean, I have too.
Wow.
I have too, man. I mean, I don't see it that Rob's very fast paced with his debates. That's how I see it. I think a lot of people kind of take that because I've seen a lot of liberals, diss on Rob for his debate tactics. But I mean,
No,
I don't see it that way.
He's a pretty,
Yeah.
seems like a pretty nice dude, but like that Soy Pill thing on Wick's channel, Soy Pill like edited a tweet to make it look like he said something else, and so Rob had the high ground there morally. He said like, you fucking doctored this tweet to get me here, and then he acted like a bitch and got in a screaming match with two people for 10 minutes and then rage quit the debate. And it's just like when things don't go his way and he feels like it's unfair whether it is or not, he acts like a fucking baby about it, and it is what it is. Like,
All right. I think I'm gonna try to get Rob. I'm gonna try to do a fucking Rob versus the panel verse thing. So if you have anything to debate Rob on or any issues, maybe you can be one of the debaters.
right now,
It's gonna-
him and I are lining up pretty close.
Okay, well, fair enough. I got some other guys in mind and shit, but it's gonna be like a 30-minute back-to-back gauntlet type of style, like think about it like Mortal Kombat, boom, to back to back to back, and that one should be fun. So we're gonna get that, but I know there's a lot of people that kind of have a problem with him right now, so I think this is a pretty good time to kind of stack up some people. But yeah, as far as everything goes, dude, I did my stream on Sarah, so I already gave out my thoughts and everything like that. We'll just leave it at that.
By the way, Jake, how long is your opener again? Or do you, like the
2 minutes and 43 seconds.
Oh, okay, cool.
Why?
I was gonna use that to take a piss.
Oh yeah, dude, you got plenty of time, man. So
Oh, yeah, cool.
get everything.
I'll be back.
We're gonna go live in 30 seconds, so you got 3 minutes.
I could have sex 5 times in that time amount,
Yeah, bro.
not counting the crying.
Well,
I don't think
I can have.
Rob. I'm not like hating on the dude. It's just fact. Like, he acts like a baby sometimes.
I mean, but I think you can say that again with like a lot of people though.
Yeah, I'm sure people
Yeah.
say that about
So or about fucking myself or Teriak or anybody really. That because dude, these panels get fucking heated at times, man. So it's totally understandable from my perspective that I'm just like, it's I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, I think this is kind of good for both parties, and we'll see moving forward. Well, with Andrew, it's not really going to affect him too much, but Sarah, I haven't seen her lives lately, so I don't know what type she's bringing in. But I did see the Teriak one, and her live ship did go down with the Teriak debate. Anyways, I don't know about the rest, but we'll see. Anyways, all right, we're going live. And we are live. Welcome everybody to Debate Night, Monday Night Debate. You could be anywhere on the internet, but you're here with Project VO Pod. And today we got two very special debaters that have been on the channel before. And go ahead, Tyler. Go ahead and introduce yourself because it's been a while since you've been on here.
I am a far left trans advocate here to argue on behalf of my non-binary brothers, sisters, and Zayzems. I'm here to smash the patriarchy, and that's average debate enjoyer on YouTube.
All right, there you go, Teriak. I don't think you need an introduction. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I'm Teriak, your friendly neighborhood leprechaun. You can find me on YouTube, X, Twitch, Kick, all the socials. Also, you can find me over the rainbow with Pot Gold.
There you go.
And yeah, appreciate you for hosting, Jake. I appreciate Average Debate, Average Trans Enjoyer showing up.
There you go, bro. There you go. All right. So really quick, guys, just to kind of do it, we're going to do a soft 7-minute opener for you guys. Teriak, obviously you are the expert on this particular topic here, right? Is trans ideology
for us,
homophobic? Let's see where Teriak goes with this. Teriak, we'll start off with you, and then
the media, the wall,
Tyler, you can go ahead and respond with that with
your
your 7-minute opener. Go ahead,
we can
Teriak.
actually have our
starting off because I'm on the airplane. First of all,
and that's the mindset that I had going into college.
So first of all, I'm going to come. My argument's kind of pretty simple. I'm going to come at it from the aspect of Satan. So you best start believing in ghost stories, Mr. Turner, because you're in one. So before the transgender thing exploded recently, before that, there was two types of trans. There was transsexual and there was transvestites. Transvestites were men that didn't think they were women, didn't do any of that shit. They knew that they were men, but they were men that wanted to dress up as women. All right? The transsexuals were either people who genuinely believed that they were the opposite sex or just genuinely wanted to pursue the avenue of changing their sex. They genuinely believed they could change their sex, which is false. But now, all of a sudden, this whole transgender thing has come along. And the reason why this is, it's kind of like the same concept of God. It's like, how can you prove the gender the same way? How could you prove God? You know what I mean? Whereas like with sex, it's physical, all this kind of shit. So as a homophobe, as Satan, this is what I would do, right? So little Billy comes into my office and he goes, I think I like other boys. And then I say, hey, Billy, how'd you know you're not just a woman trapped inside a little boy's body? You know what I'm saying? And gaslight this motherfucker up. So then I get him taking drugs like Lupron, which was used to chemically castrate PDF files. And then once I'm got him down using all these drugs, God, it was gaslighting going mentally fucked. Essentially, I can then get him to convince him cut his genitalia off, which again is a permanent decision. All this shit's permanent. And why would I want to do this? Because as a homophobe, I don't like gender non-conformity. Okay, so if you think of gender conforming, it's like think of like the trans, like doing the whole woman face thing, as well as like your typical kind of like man, your typical kind of woman, and then you have the gender non-conformers, which would be your gay men or lesbian women or tomboy women or effeminate men, that whole kind of thing. So as a homophobe, I want to get rid of that shit. So basically this is what I do. I basically get them in young. This is why they were coming for your children. Get them in young, and then I can basically gaslight them up into basically castrating themselves, and they're paying me thousands of dollars to do this. I'm their ally and they're paying me thousands of dollars to do this. Like, think of Dylan Mulvaney. It's like this whole thing of like the trans. He's literally just a homosexual man who's castrating himself. And this is the whole thing. If you try to do the argument of incongruity, the whole that would never happen because for some like self-belief, whatever. That don't work because this is currently being employed in Iran. Iran is one of the top 3 countries for trans surgeries worldwide because they rather a homosexual man castrate himself, cut off his genitalia, and pretend to be a woman because at least that looks gender conforming rather than actually to engage in homosexuality because we all know they throw them off roofs. But like I said, and like the evil genius part of this is that like literally these people are paying these doctors thousands of dollars to do this to them. Like I said, this is a whole sick industry that's been developed, and like I said, it's been under the guise of one big massive gaslight, where they tried to fuse transvestites and transsexuals and muddy the water with this new concept of transgender. And then, like I said, the desperation in some avenues trying to pull back to the whole Dr. John money and all this kind of stuff as well. And like I said, we can look at the implications. We can look at the data. I have the UK study that was released. I have the Swedish study as well. I have the other story that just came out recently with the mental health risks after surgery. We could talk about dissidents and transgender as well. Have that link too. And then I have more as well in terms of like the Iran stuff, if there's any of that in doubt as well. So, other than that, I'd say good luck to my opponent, and I will yield the rest of my time.
All right, thank you so much for that opening statement, Tyler. Your time starts now, my friend.
All right, so wasn't expecting that as your argument. So tonight's prompt is going to be if gender theory or trans ideology is inherently homophobic. And in order to not get bogged down, we agreed on some definitions prior to this debate starting. Gender theory or trans ideology, we're saying, is anything that you think that gender and sex are two separate things, and that gender is malleable or changeable or determined by your environment in some way, different from sex, where gender differs from sex by definition. The next definition we have is homophobia, which is, this is originally a smear term. A phobia is a mental disorder, saying somebody who fears something irrationally. The reason this was used, it was a smear term for people that didn't like gay people to say it was irrational, and they had some crazy non-moral reason to hate gay people besides it was, against their religion or whatever. It was a smear. So we removed the smear aspect of that, and we defined homophobia as just bigotry or prejudice towards somebody in the gay community. So we got those definitions out of the way. We're probably going to have to go through a couple more, but I think those are pretty fundamental ones. So now I fundamentally disagree. And I'm writing a lot of this before I get to hear his opening, so I'm kind of guessing, but I feel like the argument kind of is going to come down to, is vanilla anti-chocolate? And I don't think that's the case. There's no zero-sum game here. There's nothing in trans ideology that makes it exclusive and isolates homophobia. If anything, they're a coalition of allies who are outside the traditional norms of sex, gender, and relationships that banded together because they're so small. I would also argue that the gay movement is also paving the way for the trans movement as well. So they rely upon each other. That would make the trans movement not homophobic, but emulating the gay rights movement. We see that the LGBTQ movement have very high rates of approval for each other. Gay people are very in approval of trans people and vice versa. Even as Dave Chappelle said, like, the alphabet revolution was started by the gay people. They know these roads, they built these roads, and now trans people are trying to drive these roads with gay people as the driver. They use this closely allied coalition to fight for political rights. And gay marriage helped shake loose the tree of marriage and sexual and in the bedroom norms in polite society abroad. It's always been there, but now it's something we have in legislation. This is the movement following in its footsteps. It's not antithetical. If anything, it's emulating it. It's imitating it because it's trying to use those same routes. Now, if we move to the trans movement, so that gay people don't exist, if they said everybody that's gay is actually secretly trans, and we need to transition them all, then I could see this argument having some purchase, some traction that we could argue about. But that's not coming out of the community, and in fact, it's the exact opposite. It's more like when you walk into Hogwarts and you have 4 houses. These houses aren't necessarily in conflict. They do compete against each other in Quidditch and whatnot, but they are all on the same team. And when there's an outside factor, like another school coming in, they all band together behind each other. It's, again, like ice cream. Go back to the ice cream analogy. If one's vanilla and one's chocolate, at the end of the day, they're all made by the same brand. They're all pushing the sugar lobby forward. They're all on the same side. And just because you're picking one, it's not a zero-sum game. There's a million other people that could pick the other option. It's just options, and they're a very strong-knit coalition. So, political allies we went through. My argument essentially summed up here is that Thus far, a gay person is not opposed to gender theory because it's paving the way for the more oppressed, less powerful political allies. Essentially, to recap what I'm saying here, it's not opposed to it; it's leading it. It's something the gay ideology and the gay movement in our country is leading the transgender movement forward. They're almost one and the same. They're very closely related, and they work off of each other. So going kind of what his opening was now a little bit, because I am the negative, I have to refute his claim. Transgenderism, you're a little confused about where it came from. It is transsexualism. They made that word a no-no word, and now you're not allowed to say it anymore, but it's the same idea as what you were describing as transsexualism. It's just a new word for it because we have to rebrand it for the new time because there's negative connotations on the last word. And there's a movie where, what's his name, dresses up in stockings and tries to resurrect somebody from the dead, and there's a lot of singing and meatloaf in it. We've all seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. So there's a lot of stigma to that term, so they rebranded it so they could start their PR movement over again. But it doesn't push evil. So, like, going to your theory of evil as well, you're saying if you're this evil, homophobic entity, what you'd want to do is breed these people out or have them cut off their genitalia, but they're breeding themselves out already by default. If you're worried about them going to hell, being gay is going to send you to hell. If you're worried about them not breeding, being gay stops them from breeding. They have to adopt, and a trans person can adopt just as easily as a gay person can. So almost all the arguments you're making about trans people also fit gay people, maybe to a slightly lesser degree, but enough to cross that criteria. And then you brought up Iran, where they force people to be gay. Why do they do it? Or they force people to be trans instead of gay. Why do they do that? Simple. Loophole in the religion. It's like the same thing as with Jewish people on the Sabbath. You're not allowed to carry anything. They found clever go-arounds so that like you can strap something to you and carry it in that because you're not directly carrying it, so you're not violating the Sabbath. There's all sorts of rules like that in Christianity as well, where the rules written in plain text. So as long as it doesn't directly violate the rule, all the loopholes around it are still in access. That's all that is in Iran, is a loophole. I guarantee you, if there was anything in their religion that said they can't be trans either, they'd be executing those motherfuckers as well. It's just they probably didn't have trans people when that was being written. At least maybe not openly. So I think what we're going to kind of be going through here is talking about the oppression Olympics a lot and how there are things said by the trans community that sometimes demean gay people, being cis, being majority white, but that more has to do with the oppression Olympics. How worthy am I of the national sympathy versus you? And we see that like all these intersexual coalition all have this element. They all compete in the oppression Olympics of the hierarchy to be the most oppressed group. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not allies. They're just competing for the biggest piece of the oppressional pie, the biggest attention in the nation, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations from massive corporations that come in when you're Black Lives Matter and George Floyd dies or something like that. So they're competing for pieces of the pie. But at the end of the day, all these movements are coalesced into one, and I see the rest of my damn 5 seconds.
There you go. That was a long one right there, man. I'll give you that. A lot to break down there for you, Teriak. All right, with that being said, gentlemen, we got open dialogue. Go ahead.
So, like, quick question, right? Let's say I'm a homophobe, and I basically kind of cracked this, and I basically say, okay, I'm just going to get my medical license, become a psychiatrist, and just start gaslighting a bunch of gay kids into castrating themselves.
I mean, that's something that could happen. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it's not a hypothetical. I just don't think that there's enough for the empirical. There's other ways you could do it too. You could tell them like, hey, you're gay. People in your school are never going to accept you. You should go self-delete. You know, you could do all sorts of other things besides just inspire them to be trans.
Yeah. So like, are you able to pull up links, Jake?
Yeah, we can pull them up if you want. Which one do you want first?
The it's like, I think it's like, what the fuck?
You got the mental health risk after surgery, UK study, Swedish study.
So it should be gay Iranians push to change their gender by BBC.
Yeah, I'm not just refuting any of your studies, by the way. Everything you said, I'm not fact checking you at all.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, in terms of to give you a picture of like how this is being weaponized in Iran, and like why would we put trans with LGB? Like, trans has nothing got to do with LGB. So in terms of this whole thing of like, it's not one or the other, but it's like these are two separate, distinct groups that have been pushed together, melded together.
Yeah, that's
because the way Iran looks at this like surgery, they look at it as a final solution to homosexuality. Alhamdulillah, we have a solution.
Sure,
we just force them into this path.
They're also savage mud people that can't battle a nation 1/10 their size and got bodied by Israel. So, I mean, I don't really care what they think, you know? At the end of the day, like, they're doing this because there's no rules in their religion. They're getting around a rule that's written into their religion.
Yeah, but, like, for example, if you found out that, like, your best friend or whatever was doing, like, the same exact shit to people that, like, the Yazis were doing in the camps, like, the same shit with, like, all the testing, with the mescaline and the psychological torture, all this kind of shit, would you not, like, concede it's, like, they're doing fucked up shit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's gross and bad.
Yeah.
And there's barely anything out that Iran does that I sanction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's the difference between Iran and America?
Well, quite a bit. We're not ruled by a religious monarchy. We're not...
But you're still doing the same thing.
And there's all sorts of different differences. We're a liberal Western democracy.
No. What I'm saying is, in terms of, like, you're doing the same action of, like, cutting, like convincing kids to cut their genitals off, charging them $1,000 to do it. It's just a PC way of a final solution to the gays.
I would say here it's not. I mean, granted, there are people. You're right that there are some people that are trying to convince kids to do this. Sometimes it's the parents trying to get their little progressive kid to be a token for their virtue. Absolutely, there are some people, but generally, the way this is supposed to go is that it's a box there in case the kid needs it, not something you try to force them into. There is a bit of a trans trend. And that's kind of what kids are being forced into. I think that's different than the underlying issue itself. The trans trend is more of a political movement to grow the movement as big as possible so they can get as much political power as possible so they can ensure change in their direction. It's playing politics more than anything.
Yeah, and I just want to show the latest link as well, Jake, in terms of the, because this is what, like, the ticking time bomb in terms of this whole issue where we need to get out ahead of the curve, to say the least. Should be the one at the Minneapolis school, UPR, New York Post. Basically, the reason why this happened, this went down, is because they were a detransitioner. They regretted the surgery. And as we know, like, this is a permanent thing. Once you cut it off, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? And then they might be able to do a bit of propaganda where...
How does that rashly translate over into shooting up a school, though? I think that's a crazy person trying to make post hoc excuses, to be honest with you. How does I don't like that I made a bad decision that affected my life translate to I'm going to go shoot up a school full of kids? Like...
But here's the question: like, why is there, like, a disproportionate amount of the T's that are doing all these pew-pewing, and then once you factor this in, the fact that they've made a permanent life-altering decision that is essentially, one could argue, takes the will of to live away from them, and then they just want to enact their revenge. Because think of, like, these kids, like these Hollywood, even these Hollywood actresses that have, like, 3 kids and they're all trans.
Yeah.
This is not going to end well.
Those are the ones I was conceding to, but I wouldn't say that it's only disproportionate because this is such a small population size. If you go to the Mother Jones database for, like, mass shooters, that separates on all the gang-related shootings and just leaves you with a tiny percent of, like, crazy people mass shooters. Trans people only make up about 2% of those mass shootings. Granted, that's about four times as much as their population size. It's still a minuscule amount, and because their population size is so small, and we have such a small sample, 170 mass shootings over 50 years, it's hard to really say, well, like, they're 2%, which is a little higher than their per capita. I think where you see that per capita difference is in another group of people that tend to be more violent, generally with gang activity as well. That group is disproportionately way more likely to be involved in a mass shooting, gang-related or not, than trans people.
Okay, so your issue is, like, in terms of, like, numbers wise, and we need to be able to determine outcome.
Saying who though?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, because it's also for the chat as well. I just want to make sure that, like I'm not just bullshitting and saying that it's like, oh, I got all these things and, like, not actually provide any. Jake, just for, I think, like, for the final one, just the mental health risk after surgery, and scroll down to the section where it says
that's the Swedish study. After results. About 5 years or so, we find that the suicide rate.
That was the previous, but that's also another one that I have linked backstage. But, like, this one is literally the largest. This is with, like, over 100,000 patients over, like, I think, like, 10 to 30 years span.
Which one did you want me to?
Scroll down to results.
I got worse. I got the studies that the New York Times reported that were covered up that actually reported data that showed gender affirming care didn't work at all.
a lot of that stuff, and like I said, in terms of from 107,583 patients, match cohorts demonstrated that those undergoing surgery were significantly higher risk for depression, anxiety, suicide, self-deletion, substance and disorder than those without surgeries. So when you think of like the school pupil and all this kind of stuff, this is what the outcome is happening. So it's like, why should we care about this issue as a society? This is why. And like I said before, I don't know, in terms of like my lifespan at least. But if once you go back through the history, or when you go to this whole trans thing, it was transvestites and transsexuals. And when you break it down, like transsexuals genuinely believe that they can become the opposite sex. And the reason why they did the whole rebrand it transgender and muddied the waters, because fundamentally they know it's like a scientific fact that you cannot change sex, and it's like that's basically it's almost a biological impossibility. I wouldn't say like never say never kind of thing, but in terms of biological impossibility, it's a biological impossibility at the moment.
Yeah.
So like anybody who would go down that path, like they're not all there in the head. But also what you're throwing in there as well is transvestites, who are men who either get aroused for dressing up like a woman, or they just like they just like dressing up as a character or whatever.
Clothes, that's all.
Yeah. So like that's a completely separate thing. Like a transvestite would never need this operation, would never do all this kind of shit. So it's like when you look at the way how like this all of a sudden we popped in gender now, because like I said, you're in the office with a kid, right? How are you able to tell the difference between an effeminate man, a gay man, and a trans woman?
No, I get what you're saying though. Like I just think that like we're looking at multiple different problems here. So if you look at the history of medicine prior, we did a lot of bad things in this country that led up to eventually good practices. We were doing lobotomies up until about 40 years ago. The vaccine for polio gave people AIDS the first time it came out. So this is a new phenomenon. The first time this entered the mainstream public was in 2014 around a South Carolina bathroom bill, and gender affirming care has been the first attempt to try to deal with this. If anyone expected that first attempt to find a medical way to deal with this new issue to be a complete raving success, I don't know what to tell you, because we still don't have we still have a cure for fucking cancer and shit like that. So at the end of the day, yeah, it's not working. And also the second part of that issue is the virtue behind it. We have people talking their kids into being trans and making an incentive system if they feel like a girl when they're a boy. I get that. So if you exclude the trend issue from it, it's still, I would say that just because gender affirming care isn't working doesn't mean it can't be improved on, doesn't mean it can't be reeled back to people that actually need it, and not pushed on everybody that their parents say, hey, I think my kid's trans. There's mitigating factors we could take to dial it back and get rid of your concerns while still leaving it in place and also keeping it non-homophobic.
But you're presupposing that gender's a thing.
I think gender's the same thing as sex, so. But they think that. And if they think that, unless you're a deeply religious person who thinks you get morality from Christianity, who the fuck are we to say that they're wrong, you know?
Okay, yeah, and then some random French bitch shows up and she starts saying that she had a conversation with God and we need to have a holy war. Who's to say that she's wrong?
No, I mean, every individual... we live in a self-governing society here. Every individual gets presented these problems, these complex things, and they get to hear them out, weigh out their personal situations with their environment, and then vote the way that they want to. With this transgender thing, what you're saying came true. 70% of the country does not believe a man can become a woman, and they don't want men in women's spaces. So you won the fight.
Hallelujah.
We won the fight on the political level. So I just don't think it's homophobic for them to be that way.
Well, like I said, in terms of the presupposition of gender being an actual thing is where you can tell like this is like this, like you were kind of saying, is like this whole rebrand. It's just like the propaganda to get away from the fact that you cannot change your sex. Like that's biological fact at the moment, at least. You know what I mean? So then they have to rebrand it as transgender, and then they can keep pushing this shit, keep the gravy train rolling, of course, in the medical industry, because that's the medical industry for you. But in terms of the horrific shit that you're basically willing to do to children for the sake of, well, and then when we look at like dissidence rates among kids that experience like gender dysphoria or gender problems or whatever, like anywhere between 68 to as much as like 90% of these kids, it disappears by the time they get into the late teens.
Oh, you're talking about the studies for, what was the word that they used? It wasn't detransition, it was... Yeah.
Dissonance.
Dissonance, yeah. So yeah, I saw that a lot of those were taking kids that had all sorts of issues of more than just gender dysphoria. If you isolate that just to gender dysphoria, that number goes way up as well. They took kids that had all sorts of behavioral issues and everything for that study. But you are right, most of them did abstain from that as soon as they hit puberty. That's what I'm saying. We probably need to dial it back. We probably need to make sure that this is a last resort and not a first. We need to make sure there's no involvement from the parents or society to peer pressure that person. And there was a book, Abigail Spanberger, I think her name was. Maybe it was her. There was one book that got banned from Amazon. It was talking about how like 1 in every 3 little girls or high school girls that transitions into trans regrets it afterwards because they did it for social pressure. They did it because that's what their social media told them. So that element does exist. I just don't think that's the underlying element. I think that's a problem of today's political climate and society, but that's going to go away. It's already on its way out the door, and now we're left with the root of the problem, which is kind of what I'm talking about.
Okay, would you not necessarily agree that if a homophobe uses a particular ideology to attack a certain group, that ideology itself would be homophobic?
No. I think that's kind of Hitler owned a dog argument.
Well, like I said, I give you the example of Iran. Like the only reason why we do like we went over distant rates, we went over like the amount of risk that you're willing to just throw aside just for the sake of which again, like I said, presupposing that gender is even a thing. It's like it does not make like logical sense why you would basically throw caution to the wind for this pursuit or this goal.
Are you Christian?
No.
Okay, so you don't view abortion as murder then?
No, I do.
Okay, so the perfect. I can use that as an example then. So to you, abortion is murder. To somebody else, abortion is just getting rid of this thing I don't want in my body. I have autonomy over it because it's my body. It's not a living being yet that can survive absent of me. It's essentially a parasite. So it's just the mindset going into it. People believe certain things, and there are some empirical truths, but generally, like, we don't have enough to falsify that gender theory doesn't exist. You cannot become the biological thing you're aspiring to be, but gender, the term woman has different contextual definitions, and in biology you're correct, but in society, not so much. That's kind of a broader term that can be spanned out.
So gender's just a purely mental thing, correct?
I'd say so, yeah.
So if gender's purely mental, why did they have to change their physical body to be themselves?
Comfort. Why don't you wear a burqa?
But if it's just a mental state.
Yeah. Well,
Do you know what I mean? If I wanted, I could change my mental state and start acting like a Muslim and start going Habibi, Alhamdulillah, la 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 la, all this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't have to get all the aesthetics and all this stuff to do that.
Well, your mental state is inherent to you because you define gender and sex as the same thing. So biologically, your mental state comes with your being. So you might not even notice, but you're doing things that fulfill your mental state as well. Why don't you wear a dress right now? Because you're more comfortable wearing guys' clothes. They suit you better. They fit you better. Your certain attire that you put on describes you as an individual. I don't wear jeans. I think jeans look unprofessional. I never wear them. I haven't worn jeans in a decade. Maybe save if I'm going out really quick, I have one pair. I just think they're unprofessional. They look like shit. And it's the same idea. If you think you're a woman on the inside, why wouldn't you want to be comfortable in the clothes you're wearing as well? Why don't you want to present yourself a certain way?
I have a quick. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
What?
No, I was going to say to Tyler. I have a quick question here. When we look at our own politics, for example, Ilhan Omar. When you have the radical Muslims kind of taking over our political system here, if you look at how they vote, they particularly vote left, right? We can agree on that. They vote left, these politicians that are in Islam, etc. Why do you think they do that? Especially when the left promotes homosexuality, gay parades, and especially transitioning, and abortion, but you'll never see Ilhan Omar actually abort any child in her body. She is still Islamic. In a way, she's voting left, or as a politician pushing these ideas. Is she a homophobe to where she wants to get rid of gay people by transitioning them, by going through our political system? Would that, do you think, would be homophobic?
I think to cross that barrier, to say yes to that, you'd have to give me a single instance of somebody that did not want to transition on their own, that was pushed into it. And that would be
Well-
Iran, but we don't have that in the United States.
But I mean, well, they're doing it through a political system, though, right? Because she can't actually force anybody or anything like that. But you notice that the Muslims tend to vote left when they go into politicians, right? They are lefties. They follow this kind of trans ideology, but yet their religion themselves are against homosexuals. How do you make that make sense? Like, why do you think they're?
I mean,
Would there be a hatred towards them in a way?
It's not a monolith. There was during when Bill Maher was talking about, and Bill Maher had Sam Harris on, and there was that whole Islamophobia conversation. We found out only like 5% of radical Islam people are radical Islamic terrorists, and only like 20% of Islam supports them, and they're mostly in like Western Africa or Eastern Africa and the Middle East and that area of the world where Indonesia is like one of the biggest Muslim countries and very tolerant to gay people. I don't think it's legal to be gay married, but they're extremely tolerant. I think that like monolithing all of Islam to be that way would be the same as monolithing Christianity to be that way. And if we look in the United States, we have churches that fly the LGBT flag with trans pastors that allow all sorts of people from all sorts of gender ideologies. And I think it's just different versions of different sects, how devout you are to the religion, how much you ascribe to the texts. And a lot of it too, people don't like to mention this, but if you're religious, you can kind of find what you want in the Bible in some ways by cherry picking as well.
Okay, so let me break it down this way. So, if there was a group in America that wanted to do the same thing to the Jays that Adolf did, would that be anti-Semitic?
Yeah. And I'm saying if there was a group that wanted to forcefully transition all gay people and said you're not gay, you're actually trans and just don't know it, I'd agree with you.
Okay, it's not force, but it's coercion.
I don't think there is any coercion, though. We still have like 6 times the gay people. I mean, gay people are growing. They're growing at a faster rate than trans people are growing still. So, and if you look at the party's saying we want more gay people. We accept you for who you are, blah, blah, blah. Ilham Mohammed is not saying she wants less gay people to turn them all trans. It's more allowing. Allowing somebody a new option isn't coercing them into following it.
No, because like I said, you're ignoring the comparison where I'm saying, okay, if a group in America want to do the same thing to the Jays that Adolf did, that's anti-Semitic. But the same group in America want to do the same thing to the gays that Iran's doing.
Yeah, that'd be homophobic, but we don't actually have anybody forcing. We're talking about force of the government. There's no government gun pointed at anybody in the United States to transition.
Neither is in Iran.
Absolutely, they'll throw you off the government will throw you off a rooftop and kill you if you're gay.
Yes, so they're coerced into doing it. They're pressured into doing it.
There's no government gun doing that in the United States. There might be some social pressure in the United States, absolutely, but nobody's saying gay people don't exist, you can't be gay anymore. It's just we're opening up another option for you to be. It's like saying going from 30 to 32 football teams is just 2 more options, you know? It doesn't mean the Jaguars and there's the Jaguars
and you have
anti the rest of the teams.
You do have the options in Iran. One is death, the other is castration.
Yeah, exactly. There's a government gun saying you're not allowed to be gay. I would argue, absolutely, if there's anything like that, anything compelling people to not be gay legally in the United States, I wouldn't have taken this debate, but there's nothing. They're just trying to provide people with more choices. Pro-choice.
Yes, but like I said, in terms of the coercion, the dynamic that I'm coming at this was, like, if you were in Germany in 1930s, you would think that, no, the Germans are actually being nice and kind to the Jays. They're actually setting them up in these camps and all this kind of et cetera, et cetera. It's the exact same rollout here. Just like I said, in terms of the propaganda and like the rebrand that you mentioned, like that's how this shit runs. So in terms of the whole aspect of they have the choice, but the only reason why they'd want to go so young when the kid can't even consent.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Kids can't consent.
It's the
but
exact
this kid
movement. They rebranded to make trans people look more innocent, to get rid of the previous stigmas. In Germany, they rebranded Jews to make them look like they were disease carriers, that they were all awful people, they were subhuman, they deserved to be packed into these ghettos away from the general public, they were destroying our country. They're not saying that about gay people at all in the United States. Instead, they're saying gay people are oppressed and the country is actually homophobic, and that's why they're so oppressive of gay people.
Well, one side is the other side. Like, there's there's two sides to everything.
I'm
Like
talking about
in
the
terms of
gender- the gender
depending on
movement.
where you're living, all that kind of stuff. So in terms of, like I said, getting back to this aspect of why are they fighting so much for the kids to make the decision? That all of a sudden we have to accept like 8 or 9 year old Billy, like who yesterday thought he was fucking Batman, now all of a sudden thinks that like he wants to be more like mommy.
Yeah, you're going to get no sympathy from me pushing that on kids. I was more thinking this was going to be centered more around adults that can make consenting decisions on their own. But absolutely,
Would that be homophobic?
I think it's more child abuse.
But not homophobic?
No, I think it's child
Like
abuse.
like if you have a whole bunch of parents that are allowing their child to believe that they're opposite gender or opposite sex, and then going through the Gender Affirmative Care Act, like such as Joe Biden, isn't there some type of homophobia there to where it's just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna make you a woman, and not be gay, when in reality they could change their mind.
No, homophobia is an aggressive thing. It's an active stance of hating or discriminating against gay people based on who they are. It's not just, well, we're just an alternative to being gay. I don't find. I looked for statements of trans people attacking gay people in any way or saying gay people don't exist. You're all actually just trans. It doesn't exist. Nobody's saying that.
You know, what I'm pointing out was like, if you were to kind of like, even if I was to list off these famous trans people like that were being homophobic and stuff, what I'm listing off is like this whole transgender thing is inherently homophobic, because the only reason why you'd mash transvestites and transsexuals together is just to further confuse gay kids, and then specifically the fact that your policy is based around kids, and then the whole thing of like, oh, we have to get them before puberty, otherwise, and then, like again, this whole aspect of otherwise what, you know what I mean?
Well,
Otherwise you can't do it, otherwise it won't work.
I gave you an alternative motivation, though. It's political power. They also take all intersex people, the 1% of people that are intersex that generally aren't living as trans people or don't identify as trans people, and lump them into trans people as well. That doesn't mean they're anti-intersex. That means what they're trying to do is expand their political power by saying, look at how big our coalition is. Look at how many people are underrepresented. They're trying to puff their numbers up to seem bigger than they actually are. That's all that is.
Yes, but what I'm pointing to, like, no, because you wouldn't make the community LGBT.
Why not?
He has nothing got to do with LGB.
A little. I mean, it's a little different. I agree. It's not exactly the same. But
okay. How is it anyway similar?
I mean, it's intersectional. That's what kind of intersectionalism does. It takes people they're all considered sexual degenerates. They're all considered, gay is considered sexual degenerate in one way, trans considered sexual degenerate in another way. They're all outside the norm of traditional marriage, traditional relationships, traditional adherence to what a bond between two adults is supposed to be, a man and a woman having a child. They all reject that notion to some degree. They just have different prescriptions on where to go after they reject that notion. That's how they bond together. I mean, you could say, like, what's the same thing between Indians and black people, but they're all described as brown people, brown and black bodies, people of color, things like that. It's just a term to group people together to make the coalition seem bigger and have more political force than they actually have.
Yeah, but like, for example, you wouldn't have like Indian and plus black people confederation. You know what I mean? It would be either Indians or black people. And like, this is like, you're kind of proving my point with that thing of like, it would either be LGB or T. And there's even movements now within the gay community to be like, yeah, LGB without the T. We don't want these motherfuckers.
When you look at the polling, it's like 85-90% of gay people support trans rights and trans inclusivity and trans in sports and things like that. It's a very small. It's like how many fucking
there's one second.
It's like 5%.
A lot of that polling is like the guy who had Jake had on, your man Joey, the motherfuckers that do gay face, straight motherfuckers that act gay for clout. So in terms of like the actual like gay people, they're like, no, we're not down with like a lot of like significant amount of the gay community are like, we're not down with this shit.
And like it's a small amount of percentage of the gay. There's 3% of the country is gay. We're only seeing like 5% of that on Twitter. And most gay people on Twitter are still pro-trans.
No, I'm telling you this from like gay people, gay men I've personally spoken to.
Yeah, they exist, absolutely, but it's like it's a very small percentage. Whereas if you look at any poll, says the gay support for the trans community is in well above 80%, and trans support for the gay community well above 80%. They all got each other's back. They're all one coalition, generally about 80%. There are absolutely, like, these groups exist. Anytime you get a movement big enough, you're going to get all kinds. Like, anytime you got a movement more than a couple million people, you're going to get every single personality type. You're going to get a couple crazy people in there that could potentially be a killer. They're going to get all sorts. Every personality type's going to be in that group, and you're going to get people that disagree inside that movement. Absolutely.
Yes, and like I said, in terms of like that quote unquote movement, the T's have nothing got to do with the LGBs. LGBs is who you're attracted to. T's got to do with who you are.
Sure. I mean, who you are is kind of who you're attracted to. If you're a gay person, it's more than just I like penis. You act a certain way, you dress a certain way, you know, generally. I can spot a gay guy from like a bar away, you know. If I'm getting a drink bought for me, I can look over and see if it's a buddy or a gay dude from across the bar.
So one sec. If I ask you to define yourself, you're going to start talking about, well, here's how I feel about Ryan Gosling.
No. But if you're like, if Ryan Gosling's a specific, if you're into dudes, generally part of your personality is built up around that. Like a lot of these people do. Who bases?
Okay, Jake, have you ever based your personality around the fact that you're straight? Where's the straight movement?
There is no straight movement, but yeah, I don't think straight people do that in general.
Yeah, it's the norm.
Like an S, like LGBS would have made more sense than LGBT.
What's the S?
Straight.
Straight.
But then that's just like the majority of the country right there.
That's all the country. That's the
but they wanted to be inclusive. Let's be inclusive then.
Let's see. That's the thing is like they're a minority group advocating for minority rights in politics. So they band together, and there are some similarities. You are right; it's not one for one, but there are some similarities. It's sexual generacy outside of the norms of traditional man and woman relationship. There's just a little bit more to the T's than the rest, and I don't see anything in their actual ideology, starting with like John Money and Judith Butler. All the way to today, nothing about it is saying like gay people don't exist, gay people are all actually trans, gay people shouldn't be this, gay people. There's no attacks on gay people. If anything, they're trying to prop them up with the trans community, try to bring all these other groups up because they see them as all soldiers for the same mission.
So I'll go through it again. So it's like before transgender, you had transvestites and transsexual. There was a clear line. And again, none of those things had anything got to do with gay. But now you're transgender, and like I said, what's the difference between an effeminate man or a gay man and a trans woman?
How do you know they didn't have anything to do with gay? Because we don't believe that you can switch your gender. So if somebody is transsexual in the 70s, dresses like a woman, goes and gets the surgery, and goes out and has sex with men, isn't that technically gay?
No. Okay, when you're talking about transsexual, you want to change your sex. You have the belief that you can change your sex.
And once you post-op change...
Yeah.
And you go out and have sex with somebody, does that not make that a gay person now?
Okay. Do you think a gay man would be attracted to a transsexual woman?
Maybe
post surgery.
That's tricky. I could see instances. I don't know if
it's nothing got to do with gay, bro.
It does because a trans woman is technically a guy. So
I've never heard a gay man say, "Yeah, bitch, show me that pussy."
I mean, we're dealing with extremely small population sizes here. Like, I don't have to tell you, like, just because you haven't heard it in your personal experience doesn't mean it can't happen. But I would see a gay person more likely to be attracted to a trans woman than a trans man, because that's actually a man at the end of the day. There's the Adam's apple. There's all the physical features that they're used to, the muscle density, the bone density, the broad shoulders, the big hands, all that stuff still is there. I would say, hypothetically, if I had to guess, a gay man would be more attracted to a trans woman than a trans man inherently.
So, what was that, Blair White, Jake? Is it the conservative trans? Yeah.
So you're conservative.
So you're telling me a gay man would be more attracted to Blair White than, I don't know, is there even any trans men?
Like a real woman. So Blair White would be considered technically a man. And then let's say you get a real woman. What do you think a gay man would be more attracted to?
I don't know. Blair White's done a lot of work. They did a lot of.
You wouldn't be
effort to put on
attracted to that shit.
costume. Yeah, at that level, I agree with you because Blair White is.
Do you think the gay man would probably pick Blair White because at least Blair White has a penis?
I don't think Blair White has a penis anymore.
Oh, all right. Well, then pick a trans that has a penis. Like it doesn't matter. The point is, do you think the gay guy would pick the tranny with the dick than the woman with no dick?
Yeah, absolutely. The one that has the more masculine features would probably be more attractive to
Or the one with the more
masculine features. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is wild to me. So like in terms of the aesthetic, like a gay man would be attracted to a trans man if he was like as passing as possible, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Because it would be the illusion of what they would want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be a really good costume.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So like this whole thing.
I have no
Yeah.
shame in saying it. If I was a little drunk, I'd probably smash Blair White. And not
So this whole thing, like this whole thing of like the trans woman gay, it's technically gay sex, all shit, that's irrelevant to the whole like what trans is versus what LGB is.
Yeah, I mean they don't.
Or even S.
I'm giving you this point partially, saying they don't necessarily fit together as well as LG and B do with the T.
So,
there is some connection there, but it's enough for them to band together and make a coalition. I see it as more of a similarity than I see like somebody from fucking Ecuador has with somebody from Africa when they lump them in as all people of color. Like it's just political tactics in our modern age to lump people into these groups to make them appear bigger than they are. Paper tigers, political paper tigers, basically. Yeah.
So then my question would be, why are they, when we have distinct terms, transvestite, transsexual, we went over, etc., why all of a sudden would they redo the propaganda and then add in all the confusion to the point where even straight people apparently don't even know what a man or a woman is anymore?
There's probably quite a few reasons for that. Virtue, anti-Americanism, the Omni Clause of the anti-Western movement, that some of them probably actually believe in, want to help these people. There's probably 100 reasons why somebody would come to this camp. And again, a lot of it is because some people just don't like America and want to see like our norms crumble. So there are those people out there, absolutely. But I think there is a large movement of people that just generally cares about these people and thinks that this is the best choice for them that they have.
So would you say that transsexual ism or whatever the fuck, like transsexual, like that would be anti-American?
No, I don't think so.
But then, like, it's not necessarily an anti-American thing that would lead him down to transgenderism. Because one could argue it's probably one of the most American things a man could do is cut off his dick willingly.
Yeah. It's not It's not anti-American. It's more anti-Americanism. It's the anti-Western movement, the messing up our definitions, changing everything from the status quo, the post-modernist, the post-gender debates, all these things to move past society to progress us into what they see as the next stage, essentially, is what I mean by the anti-American Omni Clause. They're not anti-America in that way. More, they are anti-Western dominance, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so in terms of like, why would you use this as or like, why would you go down this path, particularly if you're saying the backing to this, or what would go down this line would be anti-American, it would be this aspect of to cause damage to the country.
Well, I don't think transgenderism on its own is anti-American. I'm saying that the movement itself right now has been folded into the anti-Western Omni Clause. And if we could somehow separate it out of that, then a lot of these things that you're saying are no longer problems. Once they joined the progressive movement and became intersectionalists, they
want to damage America.
They started grabbing all the other progressive talking points as well. Now they're feminists, they're pro-Islam, and blah, 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 and all these things that, if we down deep enough, they are inherently antithetical to it. Feminism and radical Islam are antithetical to each other. We know that, but they view right-wingers as the
Queers for Palestine.
Yeah, they view right-wingers as more of an enemy that needs to be defeated first. And once the right-wingers are defeated, then we can bicker amongst ourselves as rational, enlightened left-wingers. That's kind of how they're going about this.
Because I think there's a lot of common ground that conservatives are missing out on, particularly lately. With a lot of the quote-unquote gay community, because like you kind of pointed out there, that there's a lot of shenanigans, it seems to be going around, that it's the same thing that went on with their movement, because all of a sudden it was all about like, oh, we just want to get married and all this kind of shit, to now all of a sudden like it's been co-opted and taken over by a movement that it's like it's nothing got to do with what the original movement stood for.
Yeah, well, gay people won their battle. They got Obergefell through the courts, and they got a lot of states to pass gay marriage on the books and everything like that. So they won their battle, and now the transgender community is trying to follow in their footsteps. I don't think it's co-opting it as much as emulating it, whereas imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah, but it's basically, just real quick, it's basically the sentiment then for a lot of gay, especially gay men, but also gay women, is that, okay, we done the gay thing, we're now done with that, and now we're trans is the new thing, and that's basically just going to take over the movement. But yeah, go ahead, Jake.
I was going to ask you, Tarek, for the most part, do you think homosexuals support transgenders or disapprove of transgenders for the most part?
I don't know the polling, but I'd say a lot of it, if they were like, actually were being honest, it would be a significant amount. It might not be the majority, but it would be a significant amount.
That are against or support?
That are against.
That are against. The significant amount
majority probably would support, but it's more so it's like they're quote unquote on the same team as us, but they've just bought into the grave. They actually haven't done the thinking that, oh shit, that's nothing got to do with being gay.
It is a growing movement, and I will say there are attacks. There are some people that say like gay people are cis, gay people are mostly white, gay married couples are more successful financially than straight married couples, and blah blah blah. So you're not actually as oppressed as us, so you need to take a back seat to our oppression. I wouldn't say that's anti-gay, I'd say that's the oppression Olympics. You already won your battle, now it's time for you to back us, kinda. We're still oppressed, we're still down here, now it's time for you to step up and reach a hand out to us. They're viewing them as teammates.
It's like the episode of Malcolm in the Middle where it was like the three kids had basically it was like a scene or whatever where the three kids had a basketball game against Hal. And at the start of the episode, Hal absolutely demolished him and he's like trash talk, all this kind of shit. But at the end, they learn teamwork, and then they smashed him. But then Dewey on top has a quote where he says, "Time is now, old man." Basically kind of saying it's like the youth is taking over. It's the same thing with the trans thing. They're taking over that movement. So it's no longer about being gay. All of a sudden it's all about,
a million other things, bro.
but one could say it's just been co-opted into a politically correct way of a final solution to the homosexuals and the gender non-conformers.
But see, like, if you look at the results, the amount of gay people in the United States has only grown in the last decade since this movement started. So if anything, it's actually helping the gay movement grow. And I see zero messaging, zero thing in the ideology, nothing in there that says you can't be gay or gay people don't. There's nothing excluding gay people from existing or saying that they're all trans or saying that they need to be forced to transition. They're just offering another option in a coalition. That's all I see it as. It's just another choice for somebody that doesn't fit into gender norms.
It's not an option if you're like talking about like a kid making a permanent life altering decision.
I don't like the kid. I could see the kid's argument. I think until you're 18, you shouldn't be making any of these.
But
decisions.
That's what they push for.
Sure, but that's also the least popular aspect of the movement, and generally most transgender people aren't minors. You're finding the vast majority are people over 18, well over 18 too. A lot of them are full-on adults. So I feel like focusing on the kid thing, where I already conceded it's bad, it's part of the trend, there's a lot of bad factors that go into that. I'm with you on that. But
so would you say that the movement of LGBTQ activists, like for example in schools, that kind of assure children that they're not gay, that they're trapped in a woman's body or a man's body or whatever, and push them and support them into the Gender Affirmative Care Act under Biden, et cetera, stuff like that. Wouldn't you say that that's kind of getting rid of more homosexuals or potential homosexuals moving forward in the future?
I've never seen anywhere saying that you're not gay, you're trans. I've never seen
they
actually
okay.
That.
Well, I'll leave it to Tarek there.
Yeah, I'm
But you'd already kind of like said that, like in terms of like the nefarious like Satan character, like going in and intentionally going in and trying to like gaslight gay kids into castrating and all stuff. Like you can't really stop that.
Yeah, I mean that could exist, but I mean that could exist under our current system in other ways. Like you're not going to be able to completely get rid of bad actors. We're all still human. I think we just got to make the system that works the best it can and find a mechanism to punish those bad actors when they come to light.
But here's the thing: when there's so much ambiguity and confusion, to even to the point where it's like you were kind of saying, it's like, oh, like would a gay man like rather want a trans woman or a trans man? It's like it's neither. They want gay men.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? They want to smoke that chimney and swallow the gravy.
I think
you know
the
what I'm
ambiguity and confusion can really just be cleared up by like one day of reading into this stuff. I think that like Magic the Gathering is more complicated than transgender theory, personally. So
okay, so what is the difference between a gay man and a trans woman?
You know, a gay man would be somebody who's just likes dicks, and a trans woman would be somebody who feels as though they were born in the wrong body and want to transition how they look cosmetically to fit how they feel inside.
Okay, so now you're a kid, pre-puberty, and you like boys, but you're not sure whether it's because you're a woman trapped inside a boy's body or because you're gay, right? You're kind of effeminate. You know what I mean? But like it's like to make, because like the reason why it has to happen before puberty is because puberty has such a significant effect on the body and all this kind of shit, and that's why you have to basically like try to they have to basically try to prevent
stop it before it happens,
all this kind of shit. But this is the thing, it's like where it's basically like all you're really doing in terms of like with the trans men is you're just triggering early menopause. It's just women going into early menopause, and with the trans women, all you're really doing is just like generally mutilating a man. You know what I mean? And just like altering his bone structure and all this kind of shit.
Sure.
So in terms of like, but in terms of like the actual aspect here, it's like once you look at that as the aspect of like these are just castrated homosexuals.
No, because it doesn't necessarily mean like you could be a trans woman and also get with women. Like you don't have to be gay to be trans. Like you don't have to. Okay. You could be a trans woman who's also a lesbian. That means you know. Like,
I mean,
okay. Yeah. So you're a transvestite.
In a sense, no, you'd still be trans because you still believe that you need to change your gender, that you are changing your sexuality to something else or your gender to something else. You still believe that about yourself, but you're also attracted to women. So it's just you're just a trans woman lesbian at that point. Like I wouldn't say all trans people are just gay people that hack their cock off, and I wouldn't say that all gay people are just trans people.
They're gender nonconformers. Like if you want to be exact with it, it'd be gender nonconformers, like castrated and mutilated gender nonconformers.
Some of them could fit that criteria. I don't see it as absolute. I don't see anything compelling anybody to do that against their will, especially with adults. Like with kids are too stupid and don't know enough about the world and reality to make these decisions.
But they have to make that choice before puberty.
No, they don't.
Yes, and they knowingly lied saying that it's and I think they still do it to this day, where it's like it's completely reversible, when it's not.
Yeah, and they say also, and they hide all the data that shows that gender affirming care doesn't really work that well. Absolutely, I'm not saying improvements can't be made on that.
And post surgery, way worse outcomes mentally and all this kind of shit. And then you have the whole detransitioners, where, like, you read these manifestos, there's a lot of regret in these words.
I mean, the medical apparatus in the world, and especially in the Western nations, a lot of it is just guess and check or treating the symptoms. Like, some of these doctors are just doing their best at the end of the day, and they feel like gender affirming care was their best first shot.
Bro, nah. These motherfuckers are not going to pull the Yahtzee card where it's Scream Yahtzee and say, I was just doing my job. No. They're not going to do this. I was just doing my job shit. But no, they're going to get away with it anyway. Like, realistically speaking, they're going to get away with it anyway. But they're literally, like you're kind of saying, like, this is child abuse. You know what I mean? Like, these Hollywood actresses where, like, it's a statistical improbability that all 3 kids are transgender.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to focus more on adults, because once you start talking about kids, you're then getting into...
Well, the kids are the future, though. Like, they're the future adults, so that's how you infiltrate the kids first.
They're not making rational decisions. They don't know the impact of what choices they're making. I think it's kind of sick to prey on kids, and no person of any ideology should do that. You know, like, I don't want religion in schools. I also don't want transgender shit in schools. I want the kids to be taught education and have that taught to them at home by their parents who have that religion about them, or maybe they can make the decision when they're an adult if they want to be religious or not. I started going to church like a month ago for the first time in my life. So, you know, like people can change in the right-wing direction too. It's not just always left. Usually when they get older, they generally go more to the right. I just don't like the kid aspect because we're taking people that don't have the full mental capacity to make their decisions, and oftentimes are being manipulated by the parents or people around them. Those aren't the ones I want to focus on because those are different problems that exist regardless of if transgenderism is on the table or something else is. It's the same idea as like getting your 6-year-old daughter to get into beauty pageants. You're fucking taking her up at 6 in the morning, dressing her in tight clothes, making her do all these tap dancing. Kids want to go out and fucking play. They don't want to be in a fucking beauty pageant. It's the same idea in my mind of a parent taking their kid and glorifying them so they can get the personal gain off of what their kid's doing, like Starlight's mom and the boys. But that aspect of it aside, I don't think the ideology itself is homophobic. I think that more it's just comes from the trend. 10 years ago, you would have wanted to convince your kid to be gay because then you'd get the virtue. But that's out now. Everybody's gay. Who gives a shit? Now you want your kid to be trans, and then you're the real progressive. That's a sick thing that the parents do. I absolutely agree with you on that.
No, the reason why the kids, the parents will gas the kids up, because like if a kid came out to his parents 10, 20 years ago, bro, he was getting a beating or something like that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Or it was an awkward Thanksgiving at least. I'm talking
about like LA families, not like
family. Yeah, but when a kid gets gassed up into doing the whole trans thing, like you can point to like the parent being homophobic because I'd rather my kid pretend to be a woman and get with a dude, and then at least it like quote unquote looks normal. It's gender conforming. Rather than me have a gay son. And this is, like I said, this is happening in Iran to this day. This is the mentality. They look at it as a solution to homosexuality. And these people are doing the same thing. And you're kind of saying, well, to you, it just sounds like ignorance. But it's like, none of this has even been, like, gender's not even been proven. Like, none of this is, like proven. Like, even the studies now that are coming out are actually against all this shit, like you're pointing out as well. We agree on all this kind of shit. And I'm just like, bro, this is an awful lot of incompetence for this shit to be rammed in our throats, pushed through with all this legislation. Like, all quick and try to get the shit. And then, like I said, we can move on from the kids thing, but the whole kids thing is an aspect of this. I know people don't want to talk about it, but it is. And like I said, like to me, this is like there's no way you can say this is all just a big whoopsie.
I don't think it's a whoopsie. I think they're trying to provide an alternative for people that fit into that box. And again, they acknowledge that box is like 0.5% of the population only. But we're also seeing, so again, since the trans movement has taken off, we've seen gay people as a per capita in the United States expand drastically. It went from like 2% to around about 4 to 5 right now. So
I think that's LGBTQ as a whole, though. Like that's been growing. I don't think the homosexual community grew that significant. At least I don't think so. The last time I saw it.
Links?
I'm looking it up right now just to be 100%. What percent
yeah.
of the U.S. is gay by year?
We got time.
Yeah. This is just a cat. We're chilling. We're having a good time here.
Just to confirm it, because last time I remember, I think it was like around that 9%. This also includes activists and shit. So keep that in mind.
There's a dude called Tent Man. He invented the term gay face. Okay, he's the king of motherfucking YouTube. He invented the term gay face. There's a lot of like these activists that it's like it's kind of playing with house money. You know what I mean? When you win, you have the euphoria of winning because you were right and all this kind of shit. But when you lose, it's house money anyway, so you're not actually losing. Whereas it makes actual gay people like him look bad.
Yeah, well,
because he doesn't support the pride thing.
7.2% of people identify as LGBT, and what it's
okay, 7.
Yeah, what it's telling me is about 85% of those are gay or lesbian. So that would tell me that about 5 million people in the United States are gay, where that's traditionally been about 2 to 3% my whole life. So right now, as a result, it looks like 2020 it really exploded, and now 2022 to 2024 we're seeing the highest rates of gay people in the United States ever in just the last like 3 years. Gay and lesbian specifically, not trans or bi or anything else, any of the gender stuff. So I would assume that bumped up from 3% to around what, 4 or 5, 4 to 5? About a 50% increase over the last decade. Yeah.
Well, no, the population of America is 300 million. Yeah, so like 1%.
Yeah, also the population went up too.
Yeah.
But I mean I get what you're saying here, but hold on. Let's see what or go ahead. I'm gonna look something up.
1% of the American population is roughly about 3 million people, and if you're saying, so if you're saying that it's what's the gay percent?
about 80% roughly of the 7.2. So 7.2% in total would be about
So 80% of
let's say
that.
24. It'd be about 24 million people. About 80% of 24 million people would be gay or lesbian.
So basically 15 million. You're saying
Yeah.
15 million Americans are gay.
Yeah.
And then what do we say? Just over 3 million would be the trans thing. But
Yeah.
even within that trans thing, you're still talking about transvestites and then the transsexuals.
All non-gender
Because-
people make up only like 20% of the LGBT community.
No, I'm because again, like that whole thing, like with the gender, that thing's a smokescreen.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
only,
don't
a
believe in the gender
small-
thing.
I get that, but I'm saying, like, you're saying it's antithetical, it's homophobic, but since this movement has coupled itself to the gay movement, we've seen the gay population of the United States go up about 50%. So I would argue, just based on the results, the trans movement is having more gay people come out and more supporting it as well than
Well,
before.
hold on. I'm looking at a Gallup poll. This is from 2024. It says gays is 2%, bro. But I guess if you add the LGBTQ, okay, then it goes up to 3. But gays specifically haven't necessarily gone that up.
And the risk the risk here is it's not that it's like they actually get wiped out or whatever, that it's like
Right, but Tyler's
not this
argument.
ti- this-
Tyler's argument was LGBTQ helps out with more people being gay, but I mean I don't necessarily see that. It's still around that same percentage. It's still around that 2%, even with today's.
In the 2024 poll, gay, lesbian, and bi make up 8.6%.
Okay, but remember the percentage that I gave 10 years ago. It's still like we're specifically talking about homosexuals, gays, just gay men. That hasn't gone up, and I assume maybe back then we can look up lesbians from 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure it's around the same too.
I personally consider
And then-
gay to be lesbians myself. Too.
I mean, I get your point. I make that argument too about bisexuals. It's like you're basically gay, but
just put it away, you're not special.
but if we're gonna nitpick as far as gays, the gay community hasn't really shot up too much. But I guess if you add all 3 of them, okay, then we can add in there on the Gallup poll. It goes up.
yeah,
It goes.
but like
It goes up.
the main point that I'm trying to make with my argument is that it's like it doesn't even need to be that it's like you drastically impact the current gay population. It's the fact that you're basically convincing all these kids that would end up just being gay anyway to chemically castrate themselves.
I get you saying that, but at the end of the day, we're seeing more gay kids by a lot since these movements have coupled together. The exact opposite of what you're saying is going to happen is happening. Since transgender movement has gained steam and become popular, and when it had 70% approval rating back in 2020, we saw more gay people than ever coming out as well. So 2020 to 2021 is when we saw that huge spike from 5 to 7%. That was the big year for people identifying as gay the most. The largest spike on this graph besides 2023 to 2024. And it's all been since transgender theory has been part of that movement. If anything, it's making gay people more popular than less.
Like, can we bring up the chart?
Yeah, it's the
So that one, look at that.
Yeah, send in the back. I did look up from 2015. The percentage was 4%. So now it's around that 6. So I guess technically it's gone up, but probably from the bisexual aspect of things, it's gone up.
2014, I got 3.7%, and that includes
3.7?
Yeah, that includes transgender individuals as well. And 2014 was the year that we had so many transgender people that we started bickering about a bathroom bill. That was the South Carolina bathroom bill year.
Well, I mean, like, like this whole aspect of like let's not like let's give the devil his due, because it's like I know like we're kind of like talking about the lefty talking point here, but in terms of the Republican aspect, like the TPUSA went under enormous amount of effort to like welcome in like gay conservatives and all this kind of stuff, and the surge in terms of like the gay conservatism. So in terms of like welcoming in, like in around when the trans thing, the transgender thing specifically start getting pushed, that's the same aspect.
Okay,
But
this
yeah,
was
like,
the chart that I
what-
was also looking at. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, so when you look at like the transgender thing, like that's like 1.3 compared to like I say the lesbian or gay, it's like it's relatively close. Like the vast majority seems to be bisexual. When we're talking about specifically gay or specifically lesbian, transgender is all of a sudden it's the same percentage. Or
Wait, let me ask you, Tarek. If you're prejudiced against a bisexual, would that still be considered homophobic?
But like that's the thing, like in terms of like bisexuals, like because they're attracted to both, they're even harder to detect on your gaydars and all that kind of
Sure.
shit. But memes aside, in terms of like the like if I'm like I think I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the average trans enjoyer, average debate enjoyer,
Put anything in my mouth you want, baby.
but like the
He
whole
enjoys
aspect
trans.
here that like he's kind of like conceded in terms of like that nefarious Satan character, he can't really stop that. You know what I mean?
You can't, but they exist regardless of gender theory is around or not. Like,
but even in terms of the bisexuals, I could still like gaslight or coerce them as young age. Oh, you like both? It's like, but like this whole aspect of like maybe you have both genders. You're maybe this two-spirit character.
yeah.
Maybe you're like the Native Americans, and then you got to do that whole cult shit, that and all that kind of shit. Do you know what I mean?
To me,
So in terms of the
gay means, do you like people of the same sex? It doesn't matter if you also have sex with people from the other sex as a bisexual. If you have sex with people of the same sex as you and you enjoy it, it was consensual, and you want more of it, you're gay. That's gay.
Here's something.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say. Go ahead, Terry. No, go ahead, Terry.
Say real quick that like I have a theory that about 5% of the population is ugly. Looking at this, if it's 5%, I'm just saying. I mean, like bisexuals do have a reputation of being like desperate. You know what I'm saying? So
That could be.
beggars can't be choosers.
Also, if you notice from this chart, transgenders these days are nearly equal to lesbians, bro. Nearly equal.
Yeah.
Like they're catching up to at least the lesbian percentage. That's kind of crazy. Looking at it, yeah, the majority is bisexual, but 21% within the LGBTQ is still homosexual, but the bisexuals outnumber it, and the trans are catching up to lesbians. That's kind of interesting there. So they've gotten rid of a lot of lesbians, at least. Would you confirm that?
I don't know. I
Because
look at what
Like to outnumber them.
The way I look at that is that like that's the amount I've now like basically gotten as much share of. I've basically castrated or mutilated. Do you know what I mean? An equal amount of like what lesbian or gay men would have been.
Yeah, that's I think that's where Teriak's coming from there.
And this is like the whole trans thing is like growing and et cetera, et cetera. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because of the
pushback in America now, but.
Yeah, it's just another option. Yeah, those people might have just been gay because that was the best option for them at the time, and now they have a new option that fits them better. It's like, let's say we're all MOBA players, and then the best MOBA Dota 2 comes out, and it's just another option for us to expand to. But at the end of the day, we're all still MOBA players. It's just a better option for me.
Yeah. So let me. I think I might have the perfect analogy here. So, let's say we're to make a bet, right? And the bet is for you, whatever your dream is. It could be anything. Whatever your dream is, for your dream to be true, right? But if you lose this bet, right, and it turns out your dream's not true, you have to cut your dick off.
No,
would you accept that?
No, it's not worth having a pony.
Do you know what I mean? And like that's essentially what. As much lesbians as there are like trans people, like that's essentially the situation that they face. So it's like in terms of like ever like admitting that they were wrong. That's why like reading this manifesto. That's why like shout out to Stephen Crowder for publishing one that he got. But like reading through this shit is very important because, and I know there's a lot of like people that want to like inflammatory all this kind of shit and blow it up. But in terms of the aspect of like reading, it's like there's a tremendous amount of regret in these people's words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's only a small percent. I think you're viewing the LGBT pool of children kind of how socialists view capitalism as a zero-sum game, whereas every birth is a new opportunity for a new gay or trans person to come out, whereas... So, like, we're creating more. We're not limiting the supply we have. We're creating more of these in the same way that we create more wealth under capitalism because more people are being born, more jobs are being created is the parallel there. And you're kind of viewing it as like a stagnant thing, but these are all new individuals that are being born and deciding things on their own.
But would you agree, though, the more, let's say, propaganda you push of a certain ideology, the more of that thing you would get in the society, correct?
Generally, that there is
Yeah.
some behind that,
Yeah.
but there's so many failed
Yeah, so-
propaganda pushes. I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that it's less often than not. No, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
So if we look at like if we were to push the transgender ideology more and more and more, we would get more transgender and less gay and less lesbians.
No, what we're actually getting is less Democrat voters.
That is true, but in terms of that, if it was to be enforced and like pushed, let's say we're like it was the Mandini gets in, opens up the borders, floods the place, and next thing you know, it's Sharia law, and like this thing's being pushed. You're essentially, you would agree that if we keep pushing the transgender ideology, we would have less gays and less lesbians.
I think you'd have less than you'd have if transgender ideology didn't exist. But that's just because there's less boxes for people to filter into. Just having, like if we only had one restaurant to eat at, you'd have all the customers at that restaurant. But as soon as you have 4 restaurants to eat at, they're all splitting up 25% of the customers each. It's kind of the same thing. At the end of the day, we all getting fed, baby.
Yeah, but like that's my whole point. That it's like the more you push this ideology, the more gay and lesbian women, or the less gay and gay men and lesbian women you're gonna have.
Absolutely. Just because, again, the more competition you have, the more choices people have. You're saying that people having more choices is a bad thing. It's just because they're not limited to yes
the
or
reason,
no, but
yeah,
you go with,
I
like,
got you,
10
but
different options doesn't mean it's
yeah,
bad.
and this is where we come full circle, because like I said, it goes back to that bet thing that I offered you. It's like the thing of getting this wrong is you're basically a homosexual that's just castrate themselves or mutilate themselves.
Same thing, yeah.
I don't think there's any guarantee that somebody that was trans would have been gay absent of being trans, though.
This is why we point back to distance rates, like anywhere between 68 to 90%.
Yeah, but how many of those end up gay? Like, I'm sure only a small percent. Most of them end up just, being normal kids. And
Yeah, the reason why
kids.
the reason why it's going to affect the gays disproportionately is because it's like this whole aspect of like you're a gay boy, you're confused. It's very easy to gas them into thinking, oh, you're actually just trapped inside a woman's body. Whereas if you're a little boy that's attracted to women, it's a lot harder to convince you that you're actually a lesbian woman trapped inside a boy's body.
Maybe, but it's still possible. Like, you could still. I mean, it's hard to convince somebody you're the opposite gender. Because it's only half a percent of the population.
So you're saying that because, like I said, like to convince them that they're a lesbian would be to convince them that like, oh, you can be gay by choice, which would be homophobic.
What do you mean?
I think we got there. I think we got there, boys.
I don't know if I definitely. I'm trying to get your leap there because you're making a point. Yes, if we have less options, the limited options we have are going to see more people. But I just don't think that giving people more options means that the new option is anti the old option. That's where the disconnect is.
What I'm pointing towards is that like there's a particular group that's like suspect to be coerced and being taken advantage of here, and like you can see that there's no way to actually prevent this. And this group is susceptible. And like I said, the whole kind of like theory behind this thing is that it the only way for me to convince the kid that he's a stray kid, convince him that he's not only a woman trapped inside a boy's body, but also a lesbian.
I mean, the convincing part is the part that I'm arguing against. Nobody is convincing if they're doing it right. That's malpractice or abuse. If they're convincing a kid something they don't believe on their own. These kids are coming to the adults and saying this.
But what I'm saying is with a straight kid, the kid like oh, like, do you like girls? Do you like boys? Oh, I like girls. I'm straight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you could do the malpractice. But for the gay kid, I like boys. Oh, how'd you know you're not? Like, that's a natural question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they run it by him. How do you know you're not a man trapped in a woman's body? I just don't feel that way. Okay.
Yeah, but to say, how'd you know you're not a lesbian trapped inside a boy's body, a lesbian woman trapped inside a boy's body, is because I'm straight.
Well, it's the same way that you know
what I'm saying?
You are. You feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're a gay kid, you don't know. It's very extremely hard to tell, like you said.
Yeah, which is why we don't let people do it until they're 18 or a little bit older, maybe even 21.
Sorry, I'm changing my headphones.
Are you good? Which is why I don't want kids at all to be indoctrinated with anything and be able to make these own choices as adults. But once you become an adult, that's when, if you feel as though the gay community doesn't represent you, but the trans community does, you should be able to. Like, I just don't see a problem with it. I don't see them as inherently contradictory. You know, I see them as just different buckets people can fall into that, you know, there might be some overlap. Maybe potentially somebody would have just been a lesbian if transgender ideology didn't exist. Maybe somebody would have just been straight if transgender ideology didn't exist, but it does, and it's just another option. I just don't see having more options as somehow anti the other options. Like, it's not monopolistic competition. Yeah. We're not talking about like McDonald's and Burger King battling franchises here to try to get every last dollar and put the other one out of business. This is more like just buckets you can identify in. That's it.
Well, no, because like I said, like the whole rebrand and the new propaganda thing is deliberately ambiguous so that you can naturally target or coerce or manipulate like young gay kids. That's what I'm pointing to.
Yeah, again, like you can't,
because before it's like it'd be like, oh, like I'm attracted to the boys, but like the only two options you had was transvestite or transsexual, and both of them don't fit that confusion.
I gave you another option in the beginning here. Like, what if transgender ideology didn't exist and that homophobic doctor saw that little gay boy and convinced him to self-delete instead? Oh, you're never going to get through high school. They're going to bully you. It's going to be hell. You might as well just They could do that absent of transgendered ideology. A bad actor is able to infiltrate systems. All we can do is set up mitigation.
I get you. Here's the difference. No, here's the thing though. It's like if you have the recording of those sessions, it's like you have the doctor dead to rights. But now that we have gender affirming care, Jordan Peterson pointed this out. The doctor has to affirm if the kid says. The doctor has to affirm it, but the doctor can honestly ask that question as being pro-LGBT. I'm being a pro-LGBT, even though I'm a homophobe. I'm being pro-LGBT as Satan. I'm going to say, well, Billy, if you like other boys, how do you know you're not a girl champ? Because we have this transgender thing. Just, do you not see how easy it is? For gay doctors straight, it's a lot difficult. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, even with the doctors, it benefits them financially to affirm a child's confusion, you know?
Tens of thousands of dollars.
That was how it was for quite a while. The UK rolled that back. Sweden rolled that back. Most of the United States rolled that back. Like, that was that way for a little bit. And I would say that goes back to what I was saying before. Gender affirming care was the first medical attempt to actually deal with the transgender issue. And it wasn't fully successful. In fact, it probably didn't work much at all, but it was the first attempt. We were putting leeches on motherfuckers for 200 years. We used to cut people and let them bleed because of sickness. No, I'm just saying.
We got a lot more technology than we did back then. I think this is just a dishonest practice for money gain, man.
We were doing lobotomies up until about 40 years ago still, too. Like,
there's a lot of
things that we tried medically that were failures. We're still
let's chop off the kid's wiener and they'd be like, okay, that would be good.
I'm not saying that's gonna go away.
I think you can look at that and be like, yeah, this is probably gonna fail.
Yeah,
like,
I'm saying gender affirming care is going to stay around. It's just not going to be a first resort. Nobody's going to be coerced or convinced into it. You're going to have to make sure you go through all these other steps to make sure you're not pushing a child into a decision that they don't, or an adult. I don't want children at all involved in it. You're not pushing somebody into a decision that they don't actually want to make and things like that. We have to actually, destroy the financial incentive system, but like, that's how the whole medical system works, man. I used to work in a fine dining restaurant. Somebody would buy $200 meals for 12 doctors, get them in and advertise their drug to them, and those doctors would get a payout from the medical company if they sold a certain amount of that drug a year. Like, they get payouts for all sorts of shit, pushing all sorts of things. I don't think that necessarily means that when they're doing it in this one specific realm, they're doing it for any more nefarious purposes than in any other realm.
Yeah, so do you mind if we do a little bit of role play?
Oh boy.
Hell yeah. Can I be the nurse?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically you're going to be the kid, I'm going to be the doctor, right? So now the first, we're going to do two versions of it. First version, you're gay Billy, okay? You're young kid, you walk in and you're basically going to tell me that you like other boys, okay? 3, 2, 1, action.
Hey girl, hey doctor.
What's up, Billy?
Hey, I think I'm gay.
Yeah, so you like other boys, Billy?
Hell yeah! I think when we wrestled in gym class, I get an erection.
Mm-hmm. So, Billy, how do you know that you're not like a woman trapped inside a boy's body?
I don't feel that way. I feel like a man.
Okay, what is a man?
Me. How I feel. I feel like a man. I don't feel like I'm trapped in a woman's body.
And-
I just like cocks up my ass.
So you're a man because you feel like you're a man?
Don't clip
What if you feel like a
this.
woman? You had a very high-pitched voice. You kind of sounded like a woman.
That's
Are
pretty.
you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but you see the way that it's like that. That's a genuine kind of like inquisitive kind of like line of avenue that I can do as a doctor.
Yeah.
Now let's do it this way, right? The next one, you're straight, Billy. Okay. 3, 2, 1, action, go.
What up?
What's up, Billy? So, Billy, do you like boys or girls, Billy?
Bitches.
You like bitches?
He
Okay.
watches Andrew Tate, bro.
I clap cheeks and slay ass, bro.
Yeah. How do you know you're not a lesbian trapped inside a lesbian woman trapped inside a boy's body?
You just called me gay, motherfucker. I'm gonna beat your ass.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? You have the aspect of like I'm straight.
Oh, I get you.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas in the previous one, you didn't like it was a genuine inquisitive. So if I'm to say it's like okay, like are you sure you're not
I
gay?
get your point. So here's another. I threw out my back last week doing rows. When my doctor was trying to diagnose it, he thought it might be an injury to my my nerve being pinched. I thought it might be my spine. We did a bunch of experimenting. He asked, hey, does it hurt in your legs? He did this, that, and the other thing. And after a bunch of questions where I said yes or no, he eventually, at the end of the process, made a diagnosis that it's the muscle that's outside of my spine. I pulled it. And I just need to take a week off of the gym and make sure to stretch it out a lot and not sit too long. That's it. So that questionnaire serves as how the doctor makes a diagnosis in the long run. And they're more than fine to just ask you, are you sure you don't feel this way? Are you sure you don't feel that way? No? Okay, document it. On to the next question. I don't see anything wrong with that unless there's some sort of, well, you know what? You say no, but I'm going to mark yes, and we're going to go hack that cock off regardless of what you say. That's when I'd agree with you.
Yeah, so like this whole aspect of like the checkup that you had with doctor, like the outcome wasn't going to be that your cock was going to get cut off, and like you're kind of saying this whole thing of like enforcing it, and I'm trying to point out like the coercion aspect. Would you not concede though? It's like if you were that ultimate villain, that like getting gay people or gender nonconformists to like castrate themselves and put their dicks off so they can't reproduce, like that would be an idealistic outcome if you were in a society that doesn't want to like just wipe out certain certain groups of
Yeah,
people.
if you wanted to perform medical malpractice and try to get away with it as long as you could before you got caught and arrested for something that's illegal, then absolutely go for it. But it's illegal. We have laws against it. We have mitigating factors up front to try to prevent it the best we can. We're not going to catch everybody. You're not going to stop all murders just because you make murders illegal. You're not going to stop all drugs just because you have drugs illegal. Same thing with this. You're not going to stop all bad actors from getting in a position of power and abusing it. All we can do is have checks on them, have checkups on them, talk to their patients after, and make sure that this isn't happening. If it is, take that person and put them in jail where they belong because it's illegal.
Yeah, so but like that's when I point back to the gender affirming care. The doctors are forced to accept that they're you are what you say you are.
For a while, and I think in 13 states you're still correct, but the majority of states and the majority of EU countries that
No, but I'm not talking about what I'm not talking about what's currently legalized. I'm talking about the ideology. So if we're to completely like get into bed with this ideology, that's what's going to be pushed. This aspect of you have to affirm my gender, even though gender's not proven and all this kind of aspect.
If we change the laws and the medical structure to that, yeah, absolutely. Like there's a lot of things in medicine that we don't have the full answers for yet. We're just kind of putting patches on it. We don't have a cure to autism, but if you tell somebody with autism, hey, you should go off yourself as a doctor, you're going to get arrested. Like you're going to jail for that. Like just because bad actors exist and can take these power mechanisms and abuse them doesn't mean A, we should get rid of these power mechanisms, and B, that the system isn't working as intended. We just every now and then some bad actor is going to fall through the cracks, and all we can do is try to catch them.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like when you brought up the medical industry, there's some procedures exactly like for example like euthanasia, where you mentioned abortion earlier. Let's go the opposite direction. Like many people would like the equivalent of the case that I'm making is that like euthanasia is ageist.
Yeah, I would say so.
Do you see the reference that I'm trying to make in terms of my argument?
I get it. I get what you're driving at. I just don't see the connection between the two. I get what you're driving at. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just don't see anything that's coming out of the actual transgender movement, the underlying ideology that started in the 60s, or anything that people are saying that actually adheres to that. And I really looked. All I could find was the oppression Olympics arguments of that gay people have more, they do better in society, they're more accepted by the normal people in society, so they need to reach down and pull us up, and they need to stop acting like they're as oppressed as we are and help us out more. That's what I see as the criticism, not gay people don't exist because they're actually just trans people that don't know it yet.
Because the only arguments those motherfuckers have are ad homs. You know what I mean? When you come... When you come against Satan, okay, when you come to Project Viopod, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get hit with all sorts of arguments. You know what I mean? But like I said, in terms of like the dynamic that like I'm pointed towards, is like when you look at this ideology, same way as like euthanasia. If you're to look at that character off like I'm in ages, I think that like the youth are superior than the old. That's that because this whole aspect of if we were to euthanize the old, then we'd all get inheritance and rich and all this kind of shit and power, all this kind of like all that kind of aspect. And it's like with the same kind of like villain type character as a homophobe, it's like I would want to push this transgender ideology, same as we're seeing play out in Iran now. You know what I mean? It's a tool that like that type of villain would reach for. And when you look at the ideology itself, it's like that's why it's being used as a weapon against.
Yeah. Well, euthanasia.
You know what I mean? But it's just a politically correct way of doing it.
Let's say eugenics in Iceland, where they do like IDF, see if the baby has any sort of massive defects, and then just kill it and start again with the next one. Those are ageist, but that just because they're ageist doesn't mean that people that want them are anti-old people or anti-baby. There are other circumstances that lead to that. Old people that are dying and can't care for themselves and have gotten past their prime and blah blah blah. So it's ageist just because the people that want to access it more often. You're making the systemic racism argument here. It's ageist because the people that want to access it more often just happen to be old. And euthanasia or eugenics is ageist against babies because those are the people that it's used against, because of how the practice works. I don't think that inherently means you're anti-baby, though.
So, so would you concede that it may not be a homophobic ideology, but it would be an ideology that a homophobe would use?
Oh, it could be one of the many. A bad actor could absolutely take advantage of the trans ideology, not just for homophobia, but for the purposes of abusing women. All sorts of bad... Absolutely. There's all sorts of bad outcomes that come from gender. That's why you said all those people have our ad homs. You had to bring somebody on that doesn't actually believe in gender ideology to argue on its behalf, because that's the only way you're going to get a coherent argument out of somebody, not screeching and rage quitting.
But like as you're probably seeing with like my argument, it plays into the whole thing of, okay, if I am a homophobe and I am a Satan, you know what I'm saying? And then you hit them with the thing, and then like I said, the more screeching ensues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like, I mean, you make a lot of associations like that. Like, a homophobe wouldn't need gender ideology to be homophobic. It's just a tool they could access to be. Like, somebody that wants to mass murder maybe all the people with little round hats on could use religion in the same way. It doesn't mean all religion's bad.
Yeah, but like as a gay person, objectively speaking, you would be much better off in a world where gender ideology is not being pushed than in a world where it is being pushed.
There's a lot of factors to that. I would have to say, at least in the short term, and I know this is a fallacy to say just in the short term, but in the short term, since the trans movement has started, we've seen a skyrocket, to be very specific, in bisexual people. But gay, lesbian, and bisexuals went from 3% of the population to over 7% in just a few short years, while the trans movement was taking the main stage. So in terms of representation and growth and exposure in the country, they've gotten drastically better. But absolutely things would get worse, because if you push too far in the other direction, then the side that stands up for you politically is going to lose votes, and then they're going to be at their lowest approval rating in 40 years. And having a hard time maybe even winning the midterms in 2026. So there are definitely negatives to everything. I just don't think those negatives make the movement inherently homophobic. Absolutely a bad jacket, though.
Yeah, no worries. But like fundamentally, like to me, like that's as a collective. When you look at it as the individual, if there's no such thing as the gender ideology, like that's not being taught in schools, all this kind of shit. It's you're a lot quote unquote safer as a gay man or a gay woman, like in terms of like not being castrated or not like losing genitalia, essentially. You're a lot safer in a world where there is no gender ideology.
That's up to, I don't know. The people that want the genders change are the ones that are voluntarily signing up for it, and they're saying that a society that allows them to live as they feel makes them feel not only safer but happier, more comfortable, etc. So that's really, it's up to the beholder in that aspect, because again, I feel as though since the transgender movement has started, exposure to the LGBT and acceptance of the LGBT community hit an all-time high in 2021, a 70-something%. When Trump was elected the second time, gay marriage was in like the 65% approval rating, the highest it's ever been as well. So what we're actually seeing in terms of polling is more acceptance and more gay people as the transgender community gains more notoriety. I don't think it's, I think maybe in your regard it might be less safe, but in the totality of it, if you start to take in all the factors, I'd say the world has gotten better for gay people as a result of the trans movement.
Just because
no, go ahead, Teriak. That's actually a good point here. When he's saying that the homosexual community has actually benefited from the trans movement, etc. What would be your argument on that, to where we're seeing more and more activism towards not only transgenders but homosexuality? What would you have to say to that?
Yeah, so just because I get rid of transgender doesn't mean that we've all of a sudden gotten rid of transvestites and transsexuals.
Hold on, let me pull an Andrew Wilson real quick. Woman, give me some dinner.
Your wife is going to get you there. Don't worry.
Yeah, give me some dinner.
Yeah,
woman.
so
Papa's hungry. All right, sorry.
So like I was saying, no worries. But like I was saying, like just because we get rid of the transgender ideology doesn't mean we're getting rid of transsexuals or transvestites. Mm-hmm. And like I said, the reason why it's like this is an important distinction, while it might seem as though like for the average person that it's all the same thing. Transvestites are men, often straight men, but like sometimes gay men, I guess, that like dressing up.
They dress up.
They get, like autogynephiliacs, like all the whole thing. They know full well that they're not women. They're just impersonating women the same way as an actor's impersonating a character on screen, kind of thing.
Would you say that there's perhaps children that like to dress in mama's clothes, and therefore the parent would say, "Well, you're actually a woman, so thus let's get you that surgery"? Is that kind of like more or less your argument here?
No, like what I'm saying is like in that situation, like a lot of like parents will see that, and like because this thing's been pushed so much, they'll automatically jump to conclusions or hasty conclusions. But in terms of the like what I'm talking about is that like I'm talking about full grown men, like that they dress up as women and all that kind of shit, same way as an actor. That's transvestites. Transsexuals genuinely believe that they can change sex, like male to female kind of shit.
Right.
So it's like that, like to me is delusion in terms of biology, all this kind of shit. But it's like the fact that they done the rebrand, they basically threw all that together and average debating jurors is pointing towards in terms of the collective of like, okay, they get more votes and all this kind of stuff, and like, is that not an advantage? It's like, yes, but trade-off is you're basically sacrificing the lambs for the slaughter, because now all these gay kids who are already confused growing up have now had this new ideology thrown in their face that serves no advantage. It's just a complete risk to them, essentially. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I get you there. Tyler, you there, Tyler? Yeah. Okay. Really quickly, I want to ask you the same question. When you have, back to Teriak's point, when it comes to transvestites, right? The ones that dress up like women, but maybe they're gay, or maybe they just like dressing in women's clothes. I wouldn't get why, as a straight man, you would like that, but whatever. But maybe that's sometimes the case. I don't know. But individually, people that do that, with this whole trans movement, etc., wouldn't you say that these especially when they're children, maybe they're transvestite, they like to dress in mama's clothing or whatever the case may be, maybe they're gay. Wouldn't you say that the movement has kind of pushed and affected kind of the homosexual community here by castrating, especially at a young age, young kids? So, you know, by definition, you are lowering that rate. Like going back to the stats that we're looking at here. Like, wouldn't you say that that would be kind of maybe not okay? Perhaps inherently homophobic.
I wouldn't say it's
inherently to where it's like they don't know what they're doing here.
I'd say when you're pushing it on kids,
like subconsciously.
Homophobia isn't the problem. It's more manipulation. It's more not understanding the impacts of their decisions or whatnot. I would say homophobia isn't the right word. It is exclusionary to some degree. Exclusionary, I would say, is probably it to some degree, but it's only exclusionary to, like, if you have two football teams and you have to pick your favorite one of the two because that's the game that's on, that's what you're left with. But when you broaden it out to all 32 football teams, you're going to see less people rooting for each individual team, but they're going to be able to root for the team that fits them more, the team that they actually want to be part of and like, by expanding that. So yes, by definition, we're going to have less people in maybe these camps and more people.
Right. Like, so for example, in Texas, you have the Dallas Cowboys for the longest time. Then they introduced the Houston Texans. Now you kind of split that fan base to a degree, right? Is that your kind of your point there?
And
but
good. It's a good thing because now people are able to be categorized more accurately. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're anti the other categories. It just means that they're being categorized perfectly more for them.
Yeah, I mean the difference with football though, that you have rivalries and Cowboys fans hate Texans fans with a passion here, or vice versa. With the LGBTQ, it's a lot more united. So I get your analogy there. But however, again, when you spread it all across the mind, and then not only that, with the gender fluid and all these other genders that are popping up, I think it causes a lot more confusion with individuals that probably would have been gay without the confusion, and then would have became gay growing up, just plain gay, if they weren't introduced to the ideology of transgender and gender fluid and all this other type of garbage, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. If you only had the options of red and green to be a favorite color of yours, then you're going to get 50% of people that like red, 50% of people that like green. But as soon as you introduce blue into that, then you're going to get 33, 33, 33. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's anti-red or green to like blue. That's the whole argument I was making at the beginning about just because you like vanilla doesn't mean you hate chocolate. It doesn't make it exclusionary because it's not a zero-sum game. We're producing more kids are coming out and joining these movements. It's not like we have a set amount of people that are just stagnant that shift between groups. We have another generation coming out, and we're seeing all those groups grow in size.
Sure. Okay. With that being said, Terry, I'll let you answer to that, and we'll get to closing statements. You're muted, bro. You're muted.
Thank you very much. Yeah, like I was pointing out with the whole transsexuals and transvestites, it's like when you look at the outcome, like why this trans thing is like getting pigeonholed into the LGB, why is this movement that is literally risking gay kids and lesbians like fundamentally cutting their dicks off or castrating themselves? Like, why are we accepting this into our movement? That's like the key thing, or the key question that's not being addressed, because like if we're to even just accept, like, we can accept transvestites and transsexuals, you know what I mean? Like, that's a completely different thing. But when you put all of a sudden put it into transgender, now we have an issue, because transsexuals themselves, like, they want to be able to change things, and like the whole aspect is like that's a biological impossibility. Science is in all that kind of shit. But when you look at this whole thing of like the transgender thing being mental, we were talking about it earlier, like this whole like thing of like I can change my mental state, but if it's all mental, then why do you have to change the physical? You know what I mean? We like the reason why we do it in reverse. We give you medication to change the mental is because the physical is physical for a reason. You can't deny reality. So in terms of like the same thing with transsexuals, we can address that. But now that we've rebranded as transgender and thrown in the transvestites on top of that, it's like, to me, like that's not a whoopsie. That's intentional. We want to cause confusion. And like I said, as a gay person, as an individual, like, for the sake of like unity in terms of the voting block, doesn't mean shit when it's like, without this transgender, gay kids aren't at risk of cutting their dicks off. Whereas even with transvestites or transsexuals, there's no risk of cutting my dick off.
All right, I get you there. All right. With that being said, Teriak, I'm going to give you the last closing statement here. Tyler, we'll put the time on the top. It's a soft 7 minutes, so you can take up the whole time, kind of break down the debate and see what your full thoughts on with everything there is. Hold on, you're muted here. All right, go ahead, Tyler.
All right, so first off, Teriak, people said you were highly aggressive and rather mean. I had a pleasant, fun experience here these last 2 hours. So, what we talked about here tonight was basically we broke down I feel like the biggest contention on the debate was making more options inherently exclusionary to the other options, and to some degree it is, but I don't think that degree of exclusion, because you're giving people more options to go into the bucket that better fits them, that makes them anti the other options inherently. Sometimes that exists, monopolistic competition between two rival restaurants, maybe two football teams in the same division. But I tell you, when the Redskins play the Packers, I'm about as big of a Packers fan as you can be, because fuck the Redskins, you know? Like, there's just all sorts of, I don't think giving people better choices is going to lead to less gay people, but as we're seeing, the gay population is staying stagnant, if not growing. The lesbian population is staying stagnant, if not growing, and the bisexual population is fucking through the roof right now. So non-trans people in the LGBT are expanding at a pretty enormous rate. So I would say that if anything, if the transgender movement is supposed to be homophobic, it's just as bad at homophobia as Israel is at genocide, meaning non-existent. So I'm going to finish this off by reading a quote here, and you might recognize it if you're a little older. It's a lyric from a song. How do I see you've met my faithful handyman? He's just a little brought down because when you knocked, he thought you were the candy man. Don't get strung out by the way I look. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm not much of a man, but by the light of day. But by night, I'm one hell of a lover. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. And that's where I'm going to end it.
What lyric is that, really quick? Like, where did you get that from?
That's from
Rocky Horror Show.
Dude, come on.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm sorry, bro. I guess I'm not that old or something. But anyways, okay, with that being said, Teriak, I'll rewind the clock for you. You got 7 minutes for your closer, dude. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like in terms of the aspect of like acceptance and all this kind of shit, of like wacky or just kind of like crazy kind of statements, of like just presenting yourself, and like we could get into the whole like what is you and all this kind of stuff. But like fundamentally, like I said before, we had transvestites, we had transsexuals. There was a clear delineation. But now that we threw transgender into the mix, not only did it affect the gay community, but also affected the straight community. We had motherfuckers out here not knowing what a man or a woman is anymore. Like I said, I genuinely believe that this was done on purpose. It's basically, once you look at it from the perspective of this is a politically correct final solution to the gender non-conformers, all of a sudden a lot of the shit makes sense, why they're pushing it, why they're so aggressive for pushing it on the child aspect to it as well. Like I said, it's an unpleasant conversation to have, but that's the way things are going. And like I said, Dr. John Money is an aspect of this as well. I didn't want to go there, but I recommend if anybody did think it was an interesting topic or enjoyed the debate to look into that as well, because that was another catastrophe that was pushed. And
that was the man that did the experiments on the two children, right?
Twins, yeah.
The twins, yeah. Okay, I got you. Go on. Sorry.
PDF and yeah. So in terms of this, there's a lot of darkness behind this, and that's why I said, like, once you start looking into that, you start to realize a lot of this stuff is very nefarious. And like I said, like I'm not trying to diss on Rocky Horror Picture Show or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Mrs. Brown Boys, like, to me, like the whole transvestite thing, that's like we had I don't know if I can even say the word, but like we had like granny bingo but with a T. Like that was great crack in college, all this kind of shit. Like like to me, it's like you're playing a character. But when you all of a sudden start saying, "Oh no, I actually am this character," then we have a problem. And then when you look at the way that it was implemented off gender affirming care, it's not at the barrel of a gun, but that is basically coercion or enforcing that like the doctors push this ideology. And like I said, in terms of the outcome and the effects, it's always the kids that suffer. You know what I mean? And in terms of even with the adults as well, like I said, I even said earlier, like I would argue that like a man cutting his dick off in defiance of biology is probably the most American thing he'd do. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't do it myself. But hey, like in terms of like the aspect of that individual liberty, it is what it is. But in terms of the like what should we be preaching, what should we be pushing in society, it's the same aspect where in terms of the nuclear family. Not that I'm against the gay community, it's that the propaganda has to be the nuclear family, because otherwise society starts to dip. You know what I mean? And that's like I said, it's one of those things where it's that's just optimal for the society. And like even when you look at it from the individual perspective as well, this whole aspect it comes down to women specifically as well, and what message are we giving to them as well. That's what I've been doing all last week. I was doing Taylor Swift videos. I get these bitches with the white. Like, Taylor Swift's been singing about white picket fence, basketball hoops in the driveway. Jake, I'm telling you, whole new world, as you say.
No, I agree with you on that. If she went that direction, we'd definitely get the propaganda back into the nuclear family. But go on.
And Andrew Wilson was back in February. Was on a space with Pearl Davis, and they were all going black pill, calling him a retard, all this kind of shit. And he was like, "Trust me, bro. Propaganda is the way to do it." And all of a sudden, Taylor Swift is singing about the white picket fence, having a couple of kids.
Did she really do that?
Looking like you. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Type in Taylor Swift wish list lyrics, and I think like look at the chorus.
That's a real list, thing.
Yeah.
That's a real song. You're saying like is this brand new Taylor Swift?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
But yeah, well, I'll just kind of like end with this like this whole aspect of. When it's transvestites, transsexuals, there's no risk to a gay kid. When it's transgender, there's risk to a gay kid. And like I said, there's only one reason for that, and that's because it's homophobic. But with the rest of that, I yield my time. But yeah, Jake, seriously, pull up those lyrics.
I'm looking at it there. Unfortunately, the music will get it copyrighted strike, so we don't want to do that.
No, just the lyrics. Just do the text.
Yeah, this
if you want, or just read out
the
text.
mega coming out party is what they're calling this new album.
Didn't she just get married? Did she get married to Travis Kelce already?
Yep.
Did she? Okay. Well, Travis Kelce is also hold on, where can I find the fucking?
Oh, like Jake, don't get me wrong. It's all an illusion. It's like the whole Nala Ray thing, but just
why do you think she's doing it,
like
bro?
The Hollywood thing. Because she's paid enormous amounts of cash to say whatever's on the script. And as Tay, we need to start building back America. We need to start building back the family. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole thing with like Nala Ray, where all of a sudden she became Christian.
My theory is, since she got married, she ran out of ex-boyfriends to write about.
Yep. And she's getting older, bro. I think she's like 36 by now, or 37 or some shit.
Time comes for us all, gentlemen. But if you look at the third paragraph, that's the chorus. I just want you, have a couple kids, got the whole block looking like you. We tell the world to leave us fuck alone, and they do. Wow. Got me dreaming about a driveway with a basketball hoop. That white picket fence, Jake. Our girl Tay here, she wants to be a mother.
Oh God! Yeah, she's getting paid to want to be it, but
yeah, of course, it's all.
Of course, it's propaganda. It's all. It's like there's no way I could believe she's genuine about this. But the Travis Kelce situation, especially with last year's football season, was just.
It's Jake. It's the blonde hair, blue eyed girl, cheerleader, with
and she's not even that hot, bro. Let's be 100 about it. She's not even that hot.
It don't matter.
Don't matter.
She's blonde hair. She's blue eyes. She's gonna be prom queen. He's gonna be prom king. It's gonna be like the royal wedding. And that's why I was saying to y'all, you boys that like the National Socialism, you're gonna get your way. You're not gonna like it, but you're gonna get your way, at least in terms of the illusion.
Yeah, no, I get you there. Tarek. All right, man. Thank you so much for that closing. All right, with that being said, guys, we're going to end it there. Teriak, I'll see you another time. I'm going to send the audience back to you. And Avenger, really quickly, bro, I'm going to be seeing you over there at DebateCon for sure, right?
Yeah, we already got the house. We have 4 streamers all renting a B&B together. So
Okay. Awesome, bro.
Are you driving?
No, I'm not. No, I'm taking a plane over there, man. But I already got my hotel booked and everything like that. So I'll be over there at DebateCon, and then I believe doing Grids DebateCon on Friday. I think we're gonna be paired up for a debate. So, well, maybe I don't know. Grid just told me it might be me and you. So we'll find out something and entertain for Friday.
All right. Yeah. If you know anyone that's driving to DebateCon and going through a legal state, tell them to hit me up. Because I live in Georgia, it's not legal here, so I need something, a little bit of Papa fuel for the weekend.
I got you, bro. I got you, man. But yeah, I'll be shooting out to shooting out in a plane, bro. So it is what it is. And then Teriak, when are you coming to the States, bro?
Don't know. Like, to be honest, at this stage, I know Trump's in office. I was gonna say like I might as well just catch a plane down to Mexico and then just hop the border, but. Like I said, bro.
I'll support you, bro. I'll help you out, and I'll cross you over.
I might know some Irish in Boston that might be able to get me in, but yeah, no, like get visa. Like to be honest, like with the flights, for me, it'd probably be a bit expensive. But depending on where it is, or maybe if the modern day debate does a European event, maybe in Amsterdam, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Back it over, because like to me, like that's a 45-minute flight. You know, like 50 quid, easy.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hopefully they do something like that, man. Over there in Amsterdam. Yeah, Amsterdam's definitely a fucking hotspot. So hopefully, hopefully soon we can get your ass in the States, man. And so wherever you're at, we'll definitely party it up.
Are you in Amsterdam?
No, I'm in Ireland, but like Amsterdam's just like 45-minute flight away, kind of thing.
I was gonna say because I've been to Asia 3 times. I want to go to Africa, Alaska, and Amsterdam. All the places that start with A.
My man.
There you go. There you go, man. All right, guys. With that being said, I'm gonna end it from here. Teriak, I'll send him your way. Avenger, I'll hit you up soon, man. All right. We'll discuss for the future, moving forward over there to BaconCon. All right, guys.
Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum older.
In droves.
Oh,
right?
look at Gibbs.
It's not like it's definitely an Eastern European
he's
string,
shiny
where
tonight.
Israel's only been able to keep the peace through might. And now you're saying
they're not
let's
keeping the
remove
peace.
might.
That's the point. That's our whole
They're doing
point.
it better
is
than
that
it was before.
they're better. How we have had the most casualties ever. What are you talking about?
No, they've had, now they've had the most casualties because they finally gone to war.